Hi, and welcome. These are a series of notes on Michel Makarius' book titled Ruins. The book focuses on visual art's relationship to and depictions of ruins, mainly within Western culture. I'll take a focused look on concepts and ideas that seemed interesting within the second chapter of the text. However, I won't go through all of the content within the chapter itself. If you find the content in this recording interesting, you're welcome to follow along as I create a new one for each section. I'll also have a link to the book itself in the description. The section I'll take a look at is titled Mannerist Ruins. Just as a quick recap, a key characteristic of the Renaissance was a gradual recovery of pre-Christian culture, not in one-to-one terms as in regressing back to a previous culture, but rather as a way of giving value to fragments of the past. A part of this is that people in the Renaissance believed that they were living through a new age or era that moved past the medieval period. Just as a quick side note, the medieval period was also riddled with a lot of human suffering, including by the spread of disease and plagues. Back to the Mannerists. This period of time focused on what's called the Cinquecento. The epicenter of this movement was also in Rome. Mannerism was a refined and erudite type of court art that often put into question the serenity and order of perspective. Often the world depicted around oneself is seen as falling apart or changing. These are often coupled with scenes and figures that are unusual, if not bizarre, in nature as well. Mannerism had an air of decadence through decoration, exacerbation of line, arcane allusions, a fondness for allegory, and complexity of bodily poses. Mannerism more openly shifted this position from art produced in the Quattrocento by moving away to a degree from mimicking the perceived world. In many ways, it moves closer towards the pleasure of image making. In the century prior, in other words in the Quattrocento, many artists and architects depicted a kind of certainty in their relationship to history and the physical world around them. A lot of these works had a sense of gravity and stability within representation. Think back to the painting of Saint Sebastian by Andrea Mantinha. A very vertical and horizontal composition where few elements seem to have the tensions of quick motion and change. If there is change, it is represented with a kind of slowness. In contrast, for the Mannerists, the ruin isn't a single feature within the visual field, such as a column or a building. Rather, the ruin becomes a symptom of a broader state of dereliction within an environment. For example, we can take a quick look at Giovanni Francesco Mancini's Chamber of Ruins, created between 1716 and 1718 and located in Pommersfelden, Bavaria. Mancini utilized the existing architecture of the room to create a painted illusion of failing architecture. There are painted representations of architectural elements that seem to be in freefall, these contemplations of chaos. For the Mannerists, it's a view of a world that is in transition and in motion, something that is always transforming. Page 47 within the book has a fantastic sentence that sums this up. It reads as follows: "This vision of a flighty, transitory world corresponds to the notion of the perpetuum mobile, that is, a reality conceived as a vortex driven by primordial energies and generating ever-changing forms, birth and destruction thus end by fusing." Mannerism's propensity towards transformation positions doubt in what might be perceived as the concreteness of reality, or even a definitive notion of knowing. It's a transitory positioning between nature and culture. Finally, I wanted to read a small section of a paragraph from the text itself, located on pages 50 and 51. While doing so, it's best to also take a look at a sculpture by Jean de Bologne titled The Apennines. The sculpture was built in around 1579 to 1580 and is located in Pratolino. The text reads as such: The charms of decrepitude thus coalesce into a welter of unstable, provisional, transitory forms. The sketch and the unfinished thus symmetrically offset the fragment and the lacuna. Behind the decorum of the monument, a subtler game is being played out, marrying the states of the geological and the vegetal, thanks to the tangle of brambles that overrun them. The stony heaps hover between nature and culture, between life and death. They thus form part of a world in gestation, images of the insidious life of the origins, which from artificial caves to the statues in the garden of Bamarzo and the streaming fountains of Bologna's colossal Apennines, bewitched 16th century audiences. In the stage-managed caves of patrician villas and on the giant in the garden of Pratolino, the artificial and the natural swap signs. The Grotta Grande in the Papoli Gardens in Florence is overrun by concretions of limestone, pumice, and stalactites that had been deliberately uprooted and transplanted. As for the giant, one has the impression of a mountain transforming into a man, of a man being transformed into a mountain. In the same vein, many drawings exist showing an ancient monument, often the Colosseum, converted into a quarry or an excavation. Well, that's it for the second section of Makarius's book Ruins. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. As always, thanks for listening.